Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a fun-filled night of Spirit Connections. How's everyone doing? We will get that audience tape.
I was going to say, can you hear them?
Yes.
Maybe.
I heard them. I heard them.
We're very excited tonight, as always. Always excited to do a show, aren't we, Steph?
Yes. Would you like to introduce yourself, Tip?
I sure do. And I will. My name is Tiffany Rice, Spirit Medium Tiffany Rice. And
I am Stephanie Burke, Spirit Medium. Also, tonight our guest is Tim Weisberg.
I was going to say, I thought you were going to ask me to introduce myself.
Well, you can, actually. I'd like to have you introduce what you do, because you have a whole long list.
You can do it much better than us.
Why
You know how
not?
long it would take me to go through the list of everything that I do?
Because you are pretty important.
No, I'm not important. I'm just poor.
Well,
So it's like whatever anybody will pay me for. I'm pretty sure that I pumped both their gas before they came here earlier.
No, he's lying.
let's start first.
I could have.
Trapeze artist.
Yeah, except I fall a lot. Kind of big for that. Not like I used to be. I used to be able to like go. I actually went one time around the swing set. I thought I was going to turn inside out like that old Nickelodeon cartoon, but it didn't happen.
Well, fortunate.
Right.
Very fortunate.
Wouldn't have looked so good.
No.
Well, Tim is here. He is author
Yes.
of Ghosts of the South Coast
Right.
and Haunted Objects.
Yes. Co-author with Chris.
Co-author
Balzano.
with Chris.
It's in the
Chris
contract.
Balzano.
I have to mention.
You
him.
have to mention
Right.
him.
That is pretty important.
Also, host of Spooky South Coast TV.
Radio
and TV. It's a web show.
Yeah.
And also co-founder of Legend Trips.
Right. And that's probably the title that I'm known for the least, because everybody thinks that Legend Trips is Jeff Belanger's thing.
But it's not. We
They're
know
like,
it's you.
How nice of Jeff Belanger to hire you to do all of his events. I'm like, what? Come on.
That's
But-
not the case? I'm
No.
just kidding.
No, believe me. You know, I'll tell you a funny story real quick. If anybody out there who doesn't know who Jeff Belanger is, what are you doing watching Spirit Connections? Because really, you should know about Jeff Belanger if you're into this stuff.
We
But,
will get him
Very
on
true.
at some point, too.
I don't know about that. He's really big. It costs a lot of money to get him.
Yeah.
But you know, I run Legend Trips with Jeff Belanger, and it seems like everything that I do or anything that Chris Balzano does, Jeff Belanger's name always comes up. So last night we're doing an internet radio show, and the two of us are really excited because we're finally getting a chance to talk about haunted objects, and nobody's going to mention Jeff in this interview. And then they say, all right, well, we got to take our first break, and they go into a bumper of Jeff saying, "Hi, I'm Jeff Belanger, and you're listening to." Like even when we're doing internet radio, we can't get away from the guy.
Well,
But you
that's
kinda
kind of
like
how
him.
Jeff is. That's the Leo in him. He's a Leo.
He's very ubiquitous.
Yes. So now, first I want to start with Spooky South Coast. You've been on the air since 2006?
Yes, 7.5 years. 7.5 years. It'll be 8 in January.
And what made you take the step of bringing something paranormal to the radio?
Actually, I was doing a sports show on WBSM because I write for the Standard Times, which is the local newspaper, and I got asked to do the sports show to do a wrestling report, because that's what I was writing about at the time was pro wrestling. And I was supposed to do a little 5-minute call-in segment, but I weaseled my way into getting into the studio each week, and I became a co-host on the show for like 4 years. And when the show was kind of winding down, we knew that it was probably going to be the end of the show pretty soon. The program director, Pete Braley, said, "Hey, you know, I really like what you do, and I'd like to give you a chance to do something else. Do you have any ideas?" I said, "Actually, how about a paranormal show?" And he said, "Oh, what? Paranormal show?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to get a chance to come on and talk about ghosts and UFOs and all these things that I've been interested in my whole life." And he said, "Well, when do you want to do it?" I said, "Saturday nights at 10 o'clock. And he's like, "Yeah, all right, fine." Because that's like, you know, during that time, nothing goes on in radio. That's unless there's a sporting event on, it's just reruns. So to get local programming at that time was a good move for them. So they let us come in and do it. And thankfully, they didn't pay attention to us for the first 7.5 years. So we were able to do some crazy things and really get ourselves out there. And through podcasting and through our website, we became pretty successful with it.
Well, I feel like you guys are everywhere now. I mean, with the help of Jeff Belanger.
Well, we're just riding his coattails.
Yes.
That's-
yes.
Naturally.
But
Gotta
no,
get
it's-
somewhere, right?
It's worked out pretty well. I mean, to have a radio show, first of all, was just my dream. You know, in high school, I put in my yearbook to be on the radio. And so to be able to do that was great. But then to put it out in podcasts, I didn't really know that much about podcasts at the time.
Right,
but
right.
Matt Costa and I decided we should probably try to podcast the show. since everybody else does it, and it doesn't seem that hard. So we started doing it, and the first couple of weeks we're getting downloads from Japan, from China, from Germany.
Wow.
And we were just amazed by how quickly it took off. And I think we started to get impressed, really impressed last October when we hit 1 million downloads in 1 month.
Congratulations. That's
Right.
awesome.
Now we're up over 2 mil, probably close to 3 million now. So
That's really cool.
yeah. I haven't had the time to sit there and count every single one of them yet, but
Well, it takes some time.
yeah, I use an abacus, old school.
Yeah, and that takes a little bit longer.
It does,
But it is
but it's more accurate. Yeah.
Yep.
I can remember, because 2008 was when I was actually introduced to Spooky South Coast.
It took you so long.
I know, right?
Actually, I think that was my.
Yeah, it was right around the same time. It was like 2008.
I think so.
And
What were we doing wrong?
I was in high school.
Oh man. Make me feel
2006, I
old.
graduated, so I was like busy doing the college thing.
She's like, I don't want to listen to nerd radio
I
like
didn't.
that. I'm too
I was
cool
a
for that."
nerd. I'm still a nerd. I'm the biggest nerd you're gonna ever meet in your life, I think. And
Well, I mean, it would have helped if maybe you'd help spread the show around the high school. We're still trying to hit that high school demographic. So if any of you were out there in high
Well, we can
school,
which
definitely
I'm
do that. That's
surprised.
easy.
I'm surprised that you haven't yet.
we do. I mean, we get a lot of people, younger people that tune into the show, but because I see that the older audience, while they're interested in it, a lot of them still have that kind of that built-in skepticism, that built-in disbelief from when they were kids and people didn't openly talk about this.
Right.
And now today's teenagers are talking about it more often, and they've got all these TV shows and they've got all this paranormal media in their face all the time. So I really would like to get them involved because they're coming at it from a different perspective. And it's funny because I'll sit there and like if somebody who's like 14 years old sends me a Facebook friend request, not only will I accept it, I'll start talking to them and be like, so do you listen to the show? And after a while I'm like, wait a minute, I'm a 35-year-old guy
Bless you.
Thank
Facebook
you, I told you it was
messaging a
gonna happen.
14-year-old. Like it's just not appropriate.
How long have you liked paranormal?
Right. Have
I've
you ever seen
liked
a
it
ghost?
since-
Would you like to see one?
You might want to enlist the help of us. Well, then again, I'm a little bit closer to the high school age, so it might help out.
Yeah, but
Right.
if you're
Tim
not
and I
there
are
anymore,
the
it's still
same
creepy.
age.
Yeah, but
Right.
it's not that bad. It's not as bad, I should say.
Keep telling yourself that. Wait until you send a message to somebody, and next thing you know, you get an email from their parents
Oh my God, no.
saying,
Awesome.
"What are you doing? Leave my kid alone." It doesn't help either that I'm asking them, so do you want to come on a haunted ship with me?
Yeah, that's not okay. You're gonna end up on that what's that TV show that
Oh,
To
with
Catch a
Chris,
Predator?
Yeah.
Right, I'm really afraid every time
Hansen.
the door rings and it's Chris Hansen, so
Yeah.
I didn't
None
do
of that.
anything.
We'll change our approach on that, and hopefully
Right.
it'll.
We should probably change the subject, too, before
Yeah.
somebody
Right.
thinks that I'm serious.
Well, I'll tell you, I can remember trying to tune into the radio station 1420.
Back
right?
before we streamed, yeah.
Yeah, I remember trying to get it and being like, wait, just wait. We have to do it in the car. And I think you had a car story about trying to tune
Oh,
in.
I try to do it all
too.
the time. Like I'd be
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I'm driving right now and it's after 10 o'clock on a Saturday night. Let me try to do it. I'm so cool listening to Spooky South Coast Radio, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. Like these guys are awesome, but I live in
She's
the
listening
area.
to the wrong show.
Yeah, no. So I live in the Fairhaven area where you guys broadcast out of. So I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm going to do this. And I remember showing up to, actually, it was where I worked at the time. You were doing a book signing. I'm like, oh my God, Tim Weisberg's going to be there. I'm going to have him sign this book. I don't know if I ever told you this either.
Secrets come out here on
Yeah.
Spirit Connections.
Linda
know.
Lynch was written about in your book.
Mm-hmm.
You had mentioned her. She came into work and she's like, oh my God, I'm in a book. I said, oh, that's really awesome. Let me see the book. And it was a ghost book. So I'm like, this is fantastic. I think I owned every single book. I think I have every book that Jeff Belanger ever wrote. I bought him at Barnes & Noble. Didn't know who he was. I have Chris Balzano's books. Had no idea who he was until he friend requested me on Facebook. And I read all of them already. I'm like, this is a ghost book I don't have. I brought it home that afternoon, probably about 5 o'clock, and I brought it back to her the next day, read it from front to back, and handed it back. And I'm like, that was so cool. And when I met you, I'm like, oh my God, I read his book. He's going to sign my book. This is awesome. And the rest is history. You guys
People
have
say
been
that a
stuck with me
lot.
ever since.
I'm hoping you do more work, more lectures and stuff because
Oh, I'm available. You got anything for me to do? Because like I'm
well,
ready and willing.
I can
Find
set
some.
you up.
Yeah, I mean, really.
We both have offices, you know.
That's
so
that's
we
what
can
I'm trying to
always-
do more of heading into the fall. I did some libraries last year, and I got a really good positive response. And now I'm putting together some lectures that would be good. I have ones that would be good for libraries and civic organizations. So if you have a historical society or any kind of civic group and you'd like me to come in and talk, I can tailor the discussion for your group and for your area. But one thing that I'm trying to work on, and it's hard, but I'm trying to get involved with more schools to hit those younger kids and to
Yeah.
find out, how the paranormal is affecting them. And it's hard because of the whole MCAS
cult
and all that
and-
kind of
yeah.
stuff. And And well, even just finding the time to let me in. I mean, I can find a way to maneuver around the whole. Parents might not approve of this because I actually want to go into the schools and teach kids. When you take a picture, here's how you can break it down to know if you have a ghost or not. Because so many kids are putting up these pictures and they think that it's paranormal.
Right.
So I want to be able to teach them, and I've got this whole thing planned out where we actually create some false positives and all that kind of stuff. But the schools just have to let me in, and I realize it's not really in the budget anymore. But even more, the problem is the time. They can't really give up the class time.
A major thing, and I was actually just talking to, I think I mentioned it to Andy Lake, that I want to teach like a ghost hunting 101 course, not necessarily like the cheesy ones that you normally see, but just like the safety of ghost hunting, because I noticed, like especially when my brother was like in that high school stage, I mean he's been out for a few years, but I would see like his friends and stuff post like on Facebook like, oh, we're gonna go, have you heard of the Bridgewater Triangle? We're gonna go around in it tonight. And it's like you end up trespassing on people's properties.
Right.
You don't need some homeowner coming out and shooting, somebody who they think is robbing their house.
Yeah, you want to find the ghost, you don't want to become a ghost.
Oh, right.
Right.
So, and just like Freetown State Forest is a huge hotspot. There's a lot of dangerous things that go on in there, necessarily not with the dead, but the living, and even coyotes. Like the ledge is really dangerous. Like you have to be really careful, and kids don't realize it. They're just going out for a thrill. So it would be really good to get the education out there to make sure that they're doing things properly.
I actually get Google News alerts. I sign up for Google News alerts that have to do with the paranormal.
Okay.
Because then that's how I pull a lot of the stories and topics that we talk about on the show. But more often than not, around Halloween time, I'll get a lot of Google News alerts that say ghost hunting groups coming and giving a lecture. But the rest of the year, especially in the summertime, I'm getting stories in my Google News that say, ghost hunters arrested.
Right.
Ghost hunter injured when trespassing on.
Right.
And
you have to be really careful.
There was a story last week where a group of kids were going out ghost hunting and they got into a car accident and somebody died. So of course,
That's awful.
The fact that they were going to a ghost hunt worked its way into the story. It actually had nothing to do with the paranormal as to why they got into this accident. But of course, the newspapers want to add that little bit of salaciousness to the story.
Of course. Makes it more exciting for people to read, which is
Yeah.
terrible but true.
It is, but you're right. I mean, they do need to kind of lay. I've been a proponent for a long time of trying to set up with towns, with their individual police departments, a paranormal investigation permit.
Right.
Where you would have to actually go and apply, and you would have to meet certain criteria,
Right.
and there would also be a fee that would be paid. And the purpose of that would be that fee could go into making sure that these properties stay maintained and stay safe. So it might only be $15 a person to get these permits, but that $15 for the 40 people who go there might pay for the officer to go spend an extra half an hour patrolling.
Right.
And it would be a way to kind of make sure that you know who is going to be at any point at any given time, and therefore they are responsible, and hopefully they'll be a little bit more respectful.
Right, which is very true, especially with things going on. I mean, look at the, I guess we'll call it the Conjuring case in Rhode Island. That
Makes
is
me
turned into
sick.
an absolute nightmare. And it's just because of the fame and fortune that the movie brings along with it. You know, you end up, completely disrespecting people and their property and,
they just
historical
don't think,
things.
people
and they're
don't
not,
think, and it's
Right.
really, it's sad and it's ignorant.
You know what, though? I think people do think, and I just think they don't care.
Right, that's probably more
Because
the case.
it's not like you're not thinking about it. It's premeditated. You know where you're going. You know what you're going to do. And it's just they don't have a respect or anything for that matter for history or, people that are dealing with things. And people just don't have that thought process that, like, maybe I shouldn't do this or maybe
It's
this
so
isn't a good
sad.
idea.
It's so sad.
But a good positive thing came out of that too. I mean, as much as people have been trespassing on that farmland in Harrisville, Rhode Island, the good part that's come out of it is myself and Ken DaCosta and a few other investigators were having a conversation about it one night. And we came up with the idea of, well, how about some of these investigators who want to see people not bother this family? How about they all go down there and they volunteer their time and take some of the burden off the police,
Right.
and they keep an eye on the property, and they've been doing that.
Good.
So people have been going down there, and they've been taking names of anybody they've caught on the property, and they've been able to kind of secure the location at least a little bit so the couple can get a better night's sleep knowing that somebody's out there looking out for their best interests.
Right, which is really good because, I think that gives, all of us sitting here, whether we have like our own little niches in the paranormal, we are paranormal investigators. That's what we do first and foremost. We're looking for the paranormal, and people like us that take the time to respect people and get permission and do what we do in order to help people, we get the bad name because we're just thrown under that ghost hunter title.
Right.
So when somebody
Right.
screws it up for the rest of us. So that's an awesome thing, and I thought about that. I'm like, maybe, because we work out of Rhode Island a lot, and we know plenty of teams in Rhode Island. I'm like, that is a good idea, if people start doing that. So I'm glad to hear that it is being done.
I mean, and the important thing is, I know paranormal investigators who are armed, so they were the first
Right.
people I called.
Yep.
And I said, why don't you guys get out there and set up a perimeter? And it's amazing. Like, once we started doing that, people just started pouring in, wanting to help. And I don't remember a single
Good.
person asking for anything in return. I expected somebody to be like, well, we'd be glad to come and help patrol if you let us into the house to investigate.
Yeah, no.
But nobody said that. And to be fair, I mean, the Sutcliffes did publicly say, Norma Sutcliffe did publicly say in the past that they had paranormal activity happen in the house.
Oh, really?
She did say that in an interview with Andrea Perrin to help promote Andrea's book. And I'm going to ask Andrea about that when we have her on Spooky South Coast this Saturday. But Norma apparently did make some comments about it, but now they've recanted that and they've said that there's nothing. They haven't said that nothing's not ever happened there. They just said nothing's going on right now. And that should be enough for people to leave them alone.
Right.
I can understand wanting to go and take a picture of yourself outside the house.
Right.
But it's another thing to actually go up into their windows and
That's
start taking
weird.
pictures, or knock on the door, or even worse. I mean, some people were calling them because their number was publicly listed before.
Right.
And people would call them and demand to be allowed into the house.
That's crazy.
Like they felt like because this house was featured in a movie that they have a right. Well, if that's the case, I'm still waiting for Amityville to open their doors. to me.
Right.
Right.
Been waiting for a long time. I'll probably still be waiting for a long time.
Now,
Right.
along with Spooky South Coast, you actually just started another show called the Tim Weisberg Show every
Right.
Saturday morning at 6 a.m., bright and early.
I just don't sleep.
Apparently you don't. You're investigating at night, or you have your show from 10 to midnight on Saturdays. And
Saturdays are a long day for me.
now, do you touch the topic of paranormal on that show, or is it a little bit of a
When
mixed?
we started doing that program, I talked with Pete Braley about it, and one of the things that he said to me is he said, I don't want this to be a paranormal show. I want this to show that you are multifaceted as a host and that you can handle other topics. And so I've tried to keep it very loose and very pop culture based, and I'm trying to shoot for a younger demographic because WBSM for a long time has had a lot of older listeners. And I'm trying to give the younger crowd a reason to tune in while they're up with their kids on Saturday morning. And so I've talked about a lot of things like MTV, and we've talked about movies and television shows, and we've also gotten people's perspectives on things like the Aaron Hernandez case and things like that. But every once in a while, somebody will want to call in with something paranormal related, and I won't turn the call away, but I do try to let people know that Spooky South Coast is on at 10 o'clock, and that this show is something completely different. But that being said, I make sure that I plug everything that we're doing
So
on
now,
Spooky.
Right.
would you say your true passion is all things paranormal?
I think so. I mean, I get excited about a lot of things very easy, and I'm kind of like a raccoon, whatever's bright and
Well,
shiny.
I very much know what a raccoon is like,
I
So-
tried to tell you about that the other
aka
day.
seagull.
Yep.
Either way, yeah. But so I do kind of go in a lot of different directions. So I like to look at myself as being multifaceted. But I mean, the paranormal is kind of what I want to do all the time because that seems to be what is drawing me in. So there's got to be a reason for that.
So now you are an author of 2 widespread books.
Well,
Ghost-
one widespread, the other one, not so much.
Well, I'm sorry, co-author of one of them. But
No, I mean, one of them's widespread. The other one,
Yeah.
If you have it, it's a collector's item. Hang on to it.
Goes to the South Coast. That's the book where Steph met Tim for the first time at doing the signing. Can you tell us about that book? What's it about?
Well, what it is that's what's called a regional book. It basically focuses on the hauntings that happen from Wareham, Massachusetts to Westport, Massachusetts, what we call the South Coast, which, is conveniently was a term created by my newspaper many years ago. So I thought I should have got a little bit of a bonus check for pushing the South Coast around, but no.
That would be good.
And but this area is so haunted and has so many historic haunts, and it ties together into a very interesting narrative. So I tried to push Chris Balzano into writing this book. I tried to push Jeff Belanger into writing this book and other people. And finally, everybody said to me, well, no, you should be the one writing this book. You live there. You experience this stuff. It should be you. And I said, it's a lot of work to write a book. So I finally bit the bullet, and I contacted the History Press, and they thought it would fit in great with their Haunted America series. So I went forward and did it, and it was really, really interesting because as I'm writing the book, I thought I was going to be telling all the ghost stories. And instead, I just found so much interesting history that it became less of a ghost book and more of a historical overview of the area. And when I finished it, I said, I'm proud of this, but I don't think people are going to be scared by it. And I think that that's what they're going to be looking for when they pick up a ghost book. And thankfully, that hasn't been the case. It's been more that people want to know those interesting stories. They want to know that interesting history because, as I said, it all relates.
I kind of feel like it goes hand in hand,
It does.
being a history buff and being involved with paranormal, because you get the people that are from historical societies that love and get excited about that whole facet of something that could be paranormal. The people and places that they've been researching all their lives can actually be brought to life. And you were able to provide that.
And if you're a paranormal investigator and you are not involved with the Historical Society in the areas in which you investigate, you're doing it wrong. Because they're going to be your number one resource to be able to find out information. Things that you would have to send your team's researcher into the library or the city records, and they'd have to spend days looking for, the Historical Society can tell you off the top of their head. And an interesting story that happened to us early on was we were invited by the Freetown Historical Society to come and give a lecture about some of the ghosts of Freetown. And so we brought, this is when Chris Balzano still lived up here, so we brought him in, and the four of us were all giving this presentation. And at one point we started talking about the, I want to make sure I say it right, the Assonet Ledge, because I have Chris and Jeff in my ear saying a sonnet all the time.
I always say a sonnet, but it's a sonnet.
It's a sonnet.
It's a sonnet.
Okay.
But they actually corrected me on the air one time and told me it's not a sonnet, it's a sonnet. And I said, screw you guys, I live here.
Right.
I know what it's called. So the Assonet Ledge, we started telling the story about how it was back in Native American times, they would have ceremonies up there, and that an Indian princess couldn't be with the white man that she loved, so she threw herself off the top of it. A guy raised his hand and said, there's only one problem with that story. That was a quarry that was dug out in the early 1900s. So that wasn't around when it was Indian. And we wouldn't have known that.
Right.
We were just going with the legend of what people had been saying. And we were able to connect instantly with the facts of the case. And now we've been able to educate people when they start spreading that story. So without working with historical societies, you're costing yourself a lot of time and resources.
And if anybody has questions for Tim, feel free to give us a call at 781-281-8433. Or you can join us in the chat room, which I know Steph is typing fiercely
I was saying,
away.
she types louder than Moniz. Actually,
She
I'm
does.
just kidding.
It's the nails. She has the
Nobody
nails.
types louder than Moniz. This is Matt Moniz on the
It's
show.
usually, yep.
And it's on the same counter that all the microphones are on, so every time he hits it, the microphones rattle up and down.
That's
Good
one
thing it's
thing.
only AM.
We're missing are the different camera angles that you guys have at your studio.
And it's amazing that we do all that with just Matt Costa controlling everything. It used to be, I used to handle that, and he used to run the board. And then when I started doing the Tim Weisberg show, I was like, well, I better learn how to do the boards because I'm going to be on my own at 6 o'clock in the morning. And so he took over Spooky TV, and he's just done a phenomenal job bringing in the graphics and the photos and everything else. So it's really become a very multimedia experience now. So instead of just having to listen to us, for some reason people want to see us.
Well,
So we've tried to add a little bit more visual element to it.
we're double lucky then, because we also have Matt and we have Warren that help us out.
I wish we
Yes.
could have a Warren. Warren, are you available on Saturday nights? Yeah, see.
Every
he's
Saturday
hiding.
night.
He's
He's
hiding.
probably like, oh God, do I have to answer now? And we are very lucky with our help on this show, and we are lucky to be affiliated with Spooky South
Absolutely.
Coast.
It's a big family. It's like hee-haw. That's what I've been saying. I want to have an opening for everyone to just kind of peek out the door and say,
But we wanted to do that because we felt like we started doing Spooky TV, 3 or 4 years ago now. So we wanted to bring in other shows because we felt like people were only getting our perspective on things. So by being able to expand that, and now we have, just wait until the fall comes with all the stuff that Matt Costa has planned. We're going to have all kinds of programming pretty much every night. There'll always be something different for you to tune in and watch. Plus, we've got some really cool specials coming up, or even a pay-per-view special.
Ooh.
I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, Matt, but
wait, does it contain wrestlers?
no wrestlers. No. No
Wrestling.
No male
No.
nudity, as far as I know.
I was gonna say pay-per-view. We're getting a little sketchy here.
Well, I always think of, because I always used to.
Well, it's pay-per-view because it's going to be
Pay-per-view.
a unique opportunity for people to see something across the world that
Tiff.
is a very popular topic in this area. So we'll just put it that way. And
Interesting.
And now watch it not happen because I plugged it. So, but we wanted to offer different perspectives and offer different takes on the paranormal. And I mean, let's face it, you have guests here that I couldn't interview because I don't know about that world and I don't understand that world. But now you're able to bring that to the audience. And we have other shows like, we have the Slap 360 show now. Well, they're able to reach out to people in a whole different part of the country than we're able to. So between all these different shows, they can bring in all these different perspectives. And I think it just makes for a more well-rounded experience.
Cultured.
And now what we've been doing is we've really upped the content on our blogs on the website. So we have new things a couple times a week. So there's always different articles. We have a lot of our longtime friends and listeners who are blogging for us. And I go on there every day just to see what's up there. And originally I was, the guy who was helping to edit all this stuff. And then I said, you know what, Chris, you edit everything. I'll let everybody post everything on their own. I just want to sit back and be like the website viewer is and just experience this stuff and spend a few hours on the site every day. And I've watched the time, because we get all those website statistics,
Right.
and I've watched people go from just visiting the site for 2 seconds to find out who's on next week, one time a week, to now going every day and spending some time on the site. And that's what's important because that's what gives exposure to these other people and these other theories.
Well, just how you guys logged in tonight, SpookySouthCoast.com/SpookyTV is where you can find it.
Spooky-TV.
Spooky.
Well, you can do
hyphen.
either now. Matt
Oh,
hooked it up,
okay.
so either
All
one
right,
works.
good.
And we're actually working on kind of changing things around. I know a lot of people have been against the Pal Talk.
I don't like it.
So
I
Matt's
don't.
working on finding something as an
Good.
alternative to the Pal Talk. What I like about the Pal Talk is you don't have to deal with all the little pictures and all the smiley faces and all that kind of stuff. It's a little bit more clean in the presentation, but I guess people have a lot of problems with it. I haven't had a problem with it, but
I can't open up the box to be bigger, so I can't see everything. That's what drives me crazy.
try.
We'd like
try
to do
hitting
that.
right there. There you
I
go.
love
Ooh.
That's all it takes.
you.
Now,
Thanks.
getting back to, we were talking about the Historical Society, and if you're part of a paranormal group, it would be great to learn about your towns or wherever the location is, their Historical Society. So,
And historical societies, believe it or not, they love paranormal investigators.
right.
Because a lot of people just don't care about the historic places in their town. They go on the field trip when they're a kid, and they learn to almost resent the place, and they don't have an appreciation for their own history. But if you can start bringing in a paranormal aspect to it, then it reignites people's interest and it brings in a whole new audience for it.
Which opens up my conversation about legend trips. So,
Legend trips, baby. Why just watch people go out and investigate the paranormal when you can experience? We
Well-
say, come be part of the legend.
Let's start with, where did legend tripping come in? Who came up with legend tripping? How did you turn it into what it is now?
Well, the term legend tripping's been around for a while. It's something that people have long done. It's when you go out and you try to experience these ghost stories or whatever for yourself, but it's not a formal investigation. I went on my first legend trip when I was in my 20s, and my sister-in-law was about 12 at the time. And she had read a book about ghost stories, and she found a story about the Dillingham House in Sandwich, Massachusetts.
Okay.
And I said, ooh, that's only about a half an hour away.
Yep.
Let's go check it out. And we jumped into my 78 Plymouth Volare. It wasn't in 1978, I'm not that old. But we hopped in my Volare and we flew down to the Cape and we parked a couple streets away and we stood outside the Dillingham House, which was a bed and breakfast at the time. Now it's private. But we stood outside and we were just waiting, looking at it, and we weren't trespassing. We were on the street and we were kind of just watching. And we saw a curtain flutter and we were sort of, and that's what legend tripping is. It's just going out there and having the experience and having something that connects you to whatever it is that you're seeking out. So I knew the concept of legend tripping, but it wasn't until Jeff Belanger started writing
There's Jeff
Picture
again.
Yourself Legend Tripping.
I know.
We can't help it. But he started this new legend tripping movement to get people to say, okay, enough with the meters and the devices and all this stuff, and let's just get back out
Go
into the
back
story.
back to basics, pretty much.
And let's go back to why we got into it.
Right.
Either it scared us, it thrilled us, or it made us curious. But whatever reason, get out there and experience it that way. So when he started, pushing this legend tripping movement again, and that's around the same time that I stopped wanting to have all the bells and whistles with me on an investigation. I just kind of wanted to get back into the story. And we held our first event at the Water Street Cafe
Yes,
in
you
Fall
did.
River.
I was there.
Me
So was
too.
Tiff.
We decided that it was going to be dinner and some lectures and then an investigation. And we were hoping, that it would work out. We were really selling people on the lectures and the dinner. That was kind of the big thing.
Readings
The
in
investigation
the
was kind of an after. Yeah, you were in the bathroom. Of
Readings
course.
in the bathroom.
Right. People had to pay you to get a reading just to use the toilet.
Yes.
So it
Yep,
worked out
pretty
well.
much.
I
And,
handed them a towel.
But at least you
So
charged.
weird.
I hope you charged more than a dime. Remember those old dime
Yeah,
toilets? You
yep.
probably don't remember, but we remember. So we held the event there, and the investigation part was almost an afterthought. It
Yep.
was, what else can we give people for their dollar? And we realized that we had kind of a good formula. Nobody else holds these events and gives you an all-inclusive evening. So Jeff and I had a lot of discussion about how to best go about running our own events, and we wanted to make sure that they were different, and we wanted to make sure that they were the best value for your entertainment dollar. So we came up with the format of giving people dinner, of giving them some lectures. Sometimes we tape 30-odd minutes too, depending on the location. And we decided that we would give them drinks and snacks throughout the course of the night. And basically, whatever you would want, we would have available for you. We bring equipment if you want to use it. We have there's a mix of both seasoned investigators and newcomers, so everybody should feel comfortable. And we figured out pretty quickly that people aren't there to see us. They're not there to see whatever celebrity guests we can bring in. They're there for the location. So we make the location the star of the event, and it's really taken off. And now we've raised, the USS Salem, I think, will be our 13th event. So we've done 11 or 12 so
Ooh,
far.
lucky 13.
I was just thinking that.
And we've raised over $10,000 to go back to these historic locations that we investigate. We keep the tickets affordable. We keep them at $99 because we figure that's just enough money that those who want to come and act stupid aren't going to want to spend the money to do
This
that.
is very true.
And those who do want to come and do it can still afford it. Sometimes the tickets are a little bit more if we're in a smaller place. But we're giving them, pizza and salad, we're giving them drinks, we're giving them snacks. And really, nobody's getting rich off these events.
Right.
But we're getting a lot of awareness for these locations. We're getting a lot of money back into them. I can tell you that we kept, with our first event at Fort Table, we kept the heat on at the Military Museum
This
throughout
is
the
very
entire
true.
winter. So they were able to stay open when they normally would have had to close, or they would have had to come up with the funds to pay that heat bill. It's a small place, but it's still not cheap to heat it for the winter.
Right.
And then the Fearing Tavern, we were able to give them money that they could use to refurbish some of the floors. That place was built in 1690, so those floors are hundreds of years old. So to know that we could even replace a couple of floorboards in there is pretty cool stuff. And I know that the Houghton Mansion was going to use the funds that we raised at that event for some of their restoration work too. So when we go back there now, we're going to be able to look at a room that might have been done over that previously was just bare bones because all of our legend trippers
Right.
came and they were able to make that donation. So, and that's the key. It's not really about us and what we do. It's our legend trippers. They're the ones who come back event after event. And it's funny because it's become a family.
It has, and it's so the one thing I want to mention about your events that are a little bit different from some of the other events that happen with paranormal investigators. Your event is smaller. It's usually no more than 80 people. I know
Right,
some
we-
locations, like Lizzie Borden, is 25 when you go
Right.
to Lizzie Borden's.
And we do
And-
keep it that way for a reason though, because if we can keep it at 80, we usually have 4 zones within a location, whether it
Yep.
be different buildings or different parts of one location. So we're able to actually break it down even smaller. So you're never really investigating with more than 20 people. So that's the way that it works. It's nice to have 80 people when you're giving a lecture. Nobody wants to ask a question and only have one hand go up. We want to have
Right.
80 hands go up. But when we're able to break it down and keep it smaller like that, that's what I've been the most impressed with is how well that's worked out.
Exactly. So not only are you getting the experience of going into a location that you might not have the opportunity to go to, but you're meeting wonderful people that are like-minded, you get to be involved in these lectures and book signings,
right.
and
You're able to purchase books that night too sometimes.
Right, yep.
They have plenty of stuff going on. And the people that go to these events are really respectful, and they're there to learn and to listen and to have a good time. And I think that's what speaks volumes for these events too, because it's not like you have a bunch of people that are just all wanting to do their own thing and you know, they're fighting a crowd to get to do it. It's just very quiet, very, very interesting. And you're able to learn a lot because you're speaking about the 4 zones. They usually have, I guess you could call it a guide almost at every single
Right.
zone, and they're there to help you with whatever you need, you know, whether it be an EVP session. Please explain how to use this equipment to me. Tell me a little bit about where we are right now and, you know, what's special about this location. They're just very knowledgeable. It's not like you're sticking people just in random locations to babysit. It's you're really part of the whole entire event.
And we have our regular staff of myself and Jeff, Andrew Lake, Matt Moniz, and Matt Costa. And the idea of having each one of us there is sometimes people know what they want to do in an investigation. Sometimes people have no idea, and it's their first time. So we're able to kind of hold their hand a little bit if they need it. But if not, you know, we're there just to kind of throw out some different ideas. Jeff always runs some interesting experiments with his groups. And I can tell you he's got some really cool stuff. If it works out, he's getting some awesome equipment. And if he gets it in time, we'll have it for the USS Salem.
He always
does it
has
involve
something new.
scuba diving?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
But I can't give away too much of what it involves. But it's going to be like you've never seen before. It's something that you've never experienced before, and it will freak you out. Because he was telling me the story, and just telling me about when he was using it sent shivers down my spine. But we try to make sure that people have access to this, and they have access to the information if they have questions. But not only are we in each zone, but we also have somebody from the location in each zone too, so that when somebody has a question or they want to know, you know, I'm getting this name, does this name have anything to do with the property? We can get those instantaneous answers for you. And, you know, in the work that you do, sometimes you don't want those answers. But for a common paranormal investigator, you know, they want to know if they're on the right track or if they're being led astray.
Right, and like you said before, especially you, Stephanie, was saying speaking volumes, constantly you guys get the same people that come back over and over again, and that just validates the fact that it has become a family.
It's definitely a family. We know that when we put events together, you know, Jeff and I will talk about a location, and originally we would talk about it like, gee, you know, this would be something that a lot of people would want to come to. This is a place that people can't get into regularly, but we can get them into it. And now when we have these conversations, it's, gee, this person's really going to get a kick out of this, or we know this person's going to fly in just to come to this event, because we're now picking these places and setting these up to accommodate the people who come to them.
Absolutely.
And I've seen a paranormal group come, Spectral Forces came about from meeting at Legend Trips events, and now they've taken on a new member who they met from our Legend Trips events. And I've seen, you know, friendships develop. People who will buy tickets together and share a hotel room that met at these events, and it's only a matter of time before somebody gets married. Really.
And then there'll be a little baby legend tripper.
It's only a matter of time.
Well, have a Legend Trips wedding. It might have to be at a haunted location.
We could pull that off.
I'm sure. It'd be really interesting. I mean, I know people that have gotten married at Fort Tabor, so.
Yeah, well, people do it all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, so
So
we
it could
can pull
happen.
it
I
off.
went mini golfing and someone got married at this mini golf.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Did they
so
let you
I
play
mean,
through?
no, I wasn't at the wedding, but they had pictures.
Yeah, but they should have
'Cause it
stopped
was
and let
their
you play
favorite-
through.
Yeah.
Why should you get held up because they're getting married?
Seriously, I know.
Especially if you're like, you know, having a hot game. You don't want to have to wait.
I know. Can you speed up the process, please? I'm
I'm getting married on the 9th hole.
The 9th hole, not the 18th.
So,
What?
nothing.
Okay.
Nothing
I
at
was
all.
say I don't know where this is going, but I'm.
I don't know either.
Sometimes
I
it
was
just
getting
becomes a
dangerously close to
spiral
making enough
going
color, too.
down.
Oh, see, that happens a lot on our show, and I'm
Especially if I'm here.
It's usually
'Cause I
Tiff
just
that
keep-
kind of.
I just keep pushing it down the hill.
Yeah, but you know what? She gives you the material to work with.
Yep.
That's the
if
issue.
you're gonna throw me a meatball, I'm gonna.
She
handle it.
does.
Now, no, Tim had mentioned something where he was throwing out material. I don't know if you were catching on, but I was taking it all in. Maybe I was just taking it out of context.
Yeah, you usually do too. You'll take something really innocent and turn it into something really not so innocent, and then it'll make no sense to anybody else. It's almost like you just wanted to make a dirty joke.
It's almost like I entertain myself.
Yeah, it gets a little dangerous at times. See?
Sometimes.
I go through that a lot. I mean, I'm usually the one that says the wrong thing on the radio, which is.
Oh, I
just
say
funny,
things
you know,
all the
like-
time, and it's really bad.
Like
It's
you would
bad.
expect that, you know, if you're gonna do 7.5 years of 2-hour shows, that sooner or later you're going to say something wrong, and I've done it.
You know,
Yeah.
I have a question, and I know Steph and I always talk about paranormal teams having T-shirts and stuff. So I guess I might sound, I'm eating my words, I guess. But will there be merchandise, Legend Trip merchandise? Like, will there be T-shirts? Will there be bumper stickers?
We've talked about it. We think that part of what makes Legend Trips special and different is that we're not out there and in your face. You know, as much as we'd love everybody to know about it and come on an investigation with us, we try to keep it low key. And I think that the people who come like it that way. We've talked about getting some T-shirts though, because it seems more and more a lot of the people who come to these events regularly.
Well, they ask for spooky
They
shirts
want
all
to
the
show
time.
they want to show their love for what we do.
It's like
So-
a concert.
Yeah,
And you guys could
we've talked
sign
about
it.
getting concert tees with, you know, every place that we've been this year on the back of the shirt. So
I think that would be awesome.
I think
Maybe
at
it'll
the,
come
I
at
think
some point.
USS Salem, we should take a poll. We'll have a sign-up sheet of people that are interested in T-shirts,
I think
just
that,
to see what would happen.
Oh, hoodies. Everybody loves a hoodie.
Well,
That's a good
one,
idea.
That's one thing that we talked about doing for sure, because we do a lot of investigations in October,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to have one coming up in November, which later on I will let the cat out of the bag. I'm going to make the public announcement for it right here tonight. on Spirit Connection.
Yay!
But we talked about getting hoodies made just because people are cold.
Right.
You know, last year at Fort Tabor, we would have made a
Oh,
killing
man.
selling hoodies and
28
hats.
degrees. It
Oh,
was the
speaking of
first
hats, I
night.
forgot to wear my wife's ghost hat.
Oh,
I left it
yeah.
under the car.
You're gonna be in the doghouse when you get home.
Yeah, well, she can't keep up with the orders that she has right now. Her fingers
That's
can only work so
awesome.
fast. So.
Good for her.
But we'll get you guys some hats that you can wear on the show. And
I was gonna say
That'd be hysterical. I can't wait.
Yes.
we've got the ghosts. We've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We've got Minions, Elmo. So if you check me out on Facebook, you'll find pictures of me wearing the hats. So
I actually
And,
have you on
last week's-
Vine,
Last week's Spooky South Coast, we had it on too. And yep, Matt put up the Vine. Yeah.
That's
So-
funny.
which I'm addicted to. Vine.
It took like twice as much yarn to make a hat for my dome as it does for anybody else.
Oh my
so.
goodness.
But I think you should have the ghost hats. At least the ghost hats.
Well,
or,
see, there's the problem. Jeff's mom makes ghost hats already,
Oh.
even though they're different. Hers are like knitted hats with a little ghost button on them, and my wife's are white and it looks like a ghost. So
But you can take special orders for each
maybe,
one.
maybe there's room for multiple ghost hats at one event. We'll see.
Maybe. Maybe.
You know how Belanger is, though. When he sees them, he'll just like push them off to the side. Mom's right there.
Steph and I will
He
wear the
does in our
ghost
books.
hats.
I'll wear a ghost hat
Yeah.
for you.
We'll work it out.
But yeah, definitely
Yes.
hoodies.
Because we're going to need it. I mean, maybe not at the USS Salem, but coming up in the fall, because we've got, I should mention, we have the USS Salem event on August 31st.
Which
and
can
Tickets
you
are
still
still
get-
available.
I was just gonna ask.
they are still available, but they're getting to be really limited. So if you want to get involved with that event, I mean, this is a heavy class cruiser that was decommissioned a long time ago, but it's been parked in Quincy Harbor. But there is a lot of activity that happens. And where this is unique from a lot of the other places we've investigated before, a lot of our other locations are famous for EVPs and for things moving and things like that. The USS Salem has a lot of reports of apparitions.
Yes.
And so we want to get in there, we want to see if we can catch some of those and experience some of those for ourselves. So that event is August 31st. Tickets are $99 for that. And like I said, we are getting pretty close to being sold out for those.
Awesome.
But if you buy a ticket to that event, you have the option for another $30. You can stay on the ship and sleep in a bunk on the ship for the night.
No thank
And I promise that Matt Moniz will not be sleeping on the ship if I have to drag him off myself, which means that everybody that sleeps there should get a decent night's sleep. Because if you've ever been around Moniz when he falls asleep,
You said that he snores really loud.
yeah,
I think
It's-
that's a great. Well, sorry.
it sounds like Bigfoot
That's
when
bad.
he snores. So
I was just gonna say I think that's a great deal. Only $30 to stay extra because by the time the investigation's over, it's
Yeah.
2 a.m.
And you
Who
don't-
wants to drive?
you don't even want to drive to a hotel at
No.
that point, really.
Right.
And the hotels in the area, I've been trying to find a good deal because that's part of what we do. We always try to find a good hotel deal for everybody. But because it's August 31st and it's around Boston, everything is sky high. So this is the best deal you're going to get. And they're going to give you bagels and coffee in the morning.
Wow.
And the only catch is you just got to be off the ship by 9 a.m. because they start the tours at 10 on Sunday. So it's
Maybe
not a
we
bad
should
deal at all.
stay.
I am not staying on that ship. You can't
I'll share
pay
a
me.
bunk with you.
Heck, no, you're not gonna.
Yay, we're gonna do it.
No, we're not.
And-
I'll be
and-
staying at a hotel nearby, I think.
Well, it's not that far of a ride from here. So anybody that's watching on WCTV and wants to come out, it's only about a 35, 40-minute drive, so you can come home easily. And I do it. I mean, I'm probably more worn out. Well, you guys excluded because of what you do, but you know, I'm probably just as exhausted as anybody that goes to these events. I usually can make it home pretty easy. What happens is you think you're going to be tired, but then you're so amped up from everything that was going on.
And
that,
the Swedish fish.
That's true too. The sugar
All the
rush,
sugar rush.
And all the free sodas that we give you all night. So
Hot chocolate.
They
you're on a
have,
sugar rush.
yeah, they have snacks everywhere,
You can't.
all over the place.
You can't want anything because we have it.
Nope.
When people are like, "Oh, my AA batteries are dead," well, here you go. Here's some AA batteries. You know. So, but we have that coming up on August 31st. Then we have on September 20. Now I'm blanking. September 28th, we'll be at Slater Mill in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, which to date is one of our most requested return trips, because that place was just intense when we went there the first time. And so we'll be back there, and people can get tickets for that on the website. And also on October 12th, for all you hammers out there, you Warehamites, we'll be right here in Wareham at the Fearing Tavern. The Wareham Historical Society has 4 buildings that they allow us to investigate. The Fearing Tavern, the Old Methodist Meeting House, the one-room schoolhouse, and the Union Chapel. So we get into all 4 of those buildings, and it's just incredible. You cannot investigate these buildings unless you come with Legend Trips. They're just not open to the public.
So you need to go to legendtrips.com to purchase your tickets.
Yes, you do.
So now, November.
You want
What
the
is
big reveal?
November?
Yep.
Tell us.
If you want to go to this event, you have to go to legendtrips.com right now and get on the mailing list, because this will sell out. What we do is, for everybody who signs up for our email list, you get first crack at tickets to all of our events. We have an exclusive pre-sale for the mailing list people, which is anybody that signs up and anybody that's attended one of our past events. And you will get the email before it goes out to the public, and this will sell out. All of our Lizzie Borden events sell out in pre-sale.
Steph and I can't even get in there.
I think we've had
Sells out so quick.
2 or 3 tickets on sale to the public the last 3 times that we've done it. So this event will be similar to that, because on November 9th, we will be going to the Haunted Victorian Mansion in Gardner, Massachusetts, the S.K. Pierce Mansion,
Yay.
soon to be seen on Ghost Adventures. It'll be coming up on the next season of Ghost Adventures, and this is going to be incredible. I did find out that we will have electricity for the night,
Oh, good.
which was in question, but there will be power. There will not be heat, but we're going to bring a couple space heaters and have a little warming up corner in case anybody gets cold, and there's no plumbing. So
The bathroom
a
question.
portion of all proceeds from the sales of those tickets is going to renting a porta potty for us to put outside. So, and the pizza place across the street, who will be providing us with dinner for the night, has been nice enough to also say we can use their facilities for as long as they're open.
Oh,
So-
excellent.
But this mansion, you've seen it on Ghost Hunters before. It's been on a lot of different paranormal shows, 30-odd minutes, and it's a place that people want to get into. And it's open a lot for paranormal investigation, but this will be the first time people can get in there with the Legend Trips experience. So I've never been. I'm pretty excited because I've heard
We've never
so
been
many
either.
things, and it's going to be intense. So that's November 9th. Tickets are not on sale for that yet, but you want to make sure that you go to legendtrips.com, get on the email list, so that when they do go on sale, you can get first crack at them. So, and I already know, who's going to be the first 5 or 10 people to buy them, and there's only
Yep.
going to be 30 tickets sold.
Wow, that's
So-
going to go really quick, guys.
Yes, it
You know, I
is.
mean, you've got probably, there's probably going to be about 20 tickets available when all is said and done. So, because those first 10, man, as soon as they get that, it doesn't matter. I can send it out at 2 o'clock in the morning. And, their phone goes off, and they're like, "Yes, Legend." And we appreciate that.
They
because-
have my credit card number stored.
Yeah, and it means
Yep.
means that people are, helping out these locations and helping
Yep.
them stay open and
Right.
helping them restore. And a lot of people don't realize either. We use PayPal to
Right.
take all of our payments, and we've been approved for what's called Bill Me Later. So if you want to go to our events and you can't afford it right now, and you want to stretch out the payments, as long as you pass PayPal's credit check for it, they allow you to put like $10 down and then pay $10 a month. So you can get our tickets at an affordable price, and spread the payments out, and get out there and experience some of these events, because there's going to be 3 events coming up, 4 events coming up over the next few months, and people are going to be at every one of them.
And you
So.
don't want to miss out. I'm telling you guys, even if it's, because I've heard people come up to me and say, you know what, I don't have, none of my friends are into the paranormal, and I've always wanted to try this, and I'm
It
so
doesn't
nervous.
matter. You'll make new friends.
Right,
You will. You
exactly.
can't help but make friends when you go to these events.
Exactly. It's so worth
Everybody
it.
just welcomes everyone else, and it's just a really good time.
And it means a lot to me when we have people come up to us after these events and say to us, you really go the extra mile. There's one woman, I won't give her name because I don't want to embarrass her, but she came to the Houghton Mansion, and we were having people try out the psychomantium chamber, which was a life-changing experience for anybody that went into it. And we were able to accommodate her when she didn't get to sign up because she came late, and we were able to get her in there. And then when we were at Fort Tabor, she was going to get a reading with you, and things didn't work out with the times, and we were able to kind of sneak her in and make arrangements for her to get the reading. And she said to me, she goes, other people, other events, they would have just said, nope, you missed your chance. But with you guys, you try to find a way, and we do, because it's all about the people that are there. It's all about taking care of them. And to have them say to me,
family takes care of family.
we go to these other events that are put on by other organizations, and you guys are the best. That's when we know that we're doing our job
Right.
It's so personable. Sorry, Steph.
We have so many repeat customers, I guess you could call them, and tons of people. It's not just like one or two here and there. It's pretty much the same group almost every time is what it feels like.
I talk to people in the travel and entertainment and hospitality industry, and especially trying to book these hotel
Right.
deals and get us special rates. And I speak with the Massachusetts Office of Travel and Tourism, and they say to me, "Well, what's your retention rate? What's your repeat rate?" And I tell them, I said, "Well, we're operating at about an 80 to 85% return rate."
Right.
They say that's incredible.
Right.
Nobody draws those kind of numbers.
Right.
And then I have to update that and say, well, wait a minute. Some people couldn't make it to this event, but they signed up for this event. I mean, I
Right.
can tell you now for the USS Salem, we have one group of people that have probably purchased about a dozen tickets so far.
Wow.
Because they're going, and then they tell their friends about it, and then they
Right.
tell their friends. So it's literally a group of people who are all coming in because of the buzz that they've heard from
Right.
one or two people that came.
And another, you just raised my attention on something too. Where you have these events, they're all over the place. So I know Quincy is a mecca for a lot of my friends. And so when they found out that the Legend Trip event was going to be in Quincy, they were like, oh, okay. And they were excited to actually be able to go. Because, some people may not live too close to Wareham and they don't want to drive.
Right, and we've
whatever it may be.
It's
We
all
want to go to
over.
Right.
where people are and where people want to go. And that's what we ask people all the time, what locations would you like to see us investigate? Sometimes we get stonewalled. I won't say the names of some of these places, but there's been a few that we've run into. Well, we only work with this paranormal group, or we don't want to get paranormal people in there, and we try to smooth things over as best we can, but it doesn't always work. So we try to bring people to the places where they want to go. I think the Houghton Mansion was the furthest we've ever gone. It was 4 hours from here in North Adams, Massachusetts. And we're like, are people going to travel? Are they going to go this far and spend this much gas and get a hotel room and go through all this? And they did. And they came out there, and it was fantastic. I can't wait to go back there again. It was my favorite Legend Trip of all time. And
I can't
I'm
wait to go.
hoping-
Yeah. Steph and I are like, wow.
We're hoping to go back next spring. We still got to work out some of the details, but that's the thing is we've got a plan to go all the way through November of this year. In December, not to jump the gun a little bit, but we're going to have our event that we had last year in Bellingham, where we raised money for charity. It was everybody kind of coming together for a big Christmas party. So we're going to do that again in December. Probably take January off, and then in February we'll be right back at it with another Lizzie Borden event.
Yep.
And then we're hoping to, as long as the audience wants to keep coming back for it, we're going to do hopefully one a month.
Hey,
That's
and
awesome.
those hoodies will come in handy even in
All
April.
year round.
Yeah, all year
I want
round.
the first one.
Even, I'll tell you, man, I always bring, multiple layers with me, and I end up shedding them all because, ghost hunting's hard work. But it'd be nice to, if I'm going to leave a hoodie behind, I want to leave behind a Legend Trips hoodie so that people are
Right.
like, oh, Legend Trips was here.
Now, what
You
is
know?
this?
It's like having a business card.
We can get them embroidered
Just
with
those
our
hoodies.
names and
Yeah.
the year on them too, like little
Like when you were in high school.
varsity sweatshirts.
Hey.
I think I honestly,
And we should say, too, we should let people know that most of our events, you guys are there offering
are.
readings. And we take registration in advance, and usually you guys do a phenomenal rate for people to come in. And I don't think in all the events that we've had you at, nobody's ever come out and said, well, gee, I can't believe I went through that. Everybody's coming out with these looks on their face like, that was incredible, that was amazing. And I'm sure you guys know you're seeing a lot of the same faces because when they come back,
Yep.
they want to make sure they can get their reading with Tiff or with Steph because their minds are blown and they just want to go back and experience that again. And then, of course, we make you actually work
Right.
in the events. We're like, what are you picking up?
It's fun though. Like I love walking around and being able
Exactly.
to like help with the investigation, and because it gives a different perspective on things too. Like, like helping people see kind of. I think it's a big part of what we do too. Seeing how we operate in that sense, because some people have never worked with a medium on an
And
investigation
some people
before.
refuse to work with a medium.
That's very true
and
too.
then they see how you work and they're like, okay, well, wait a minute now.
Right, and then we have people questioning us in the corner, like afterwards, like, so tell me about this again. I'm not understanding how this works, and it kind of opens their eyes to like a whole new world, I guess you could say. We'll take the
Right.
little
My
page
mind
from
was
Aladdin.
changed on having mediums on investigation when we were at the Fearing Tavern and we were getting some stuff through a ghost box. And a few minutes later, Tiffany came in and we said, oh, kind of wanted to throw a little test. What are you picking up? And she basically said word for word everything that we had just gotten through on the ghost box. So we're like, okay, mine's blown. You can stick around.
Yep, we'll keep you.
But it's great because some people won't want to have a medium around.
Right.
But other people want to have that as, pardon the expression, but just another tool in the toolbox.
It is
Something else to gather information and data from.
It's definitely tough being in our position too, because people think it's so easy for us, but you have one person that just ruins it for the rest of us and does like a cold reading or does the whole fake thing, and then people look at us like we have 3 heads and
Right.
we're just doing this for money. I do this for the love of the paranormal. Like my passion is going out there and experience things, like helping, I guess you could say spirits, we'll call them spirits, and that are either stuck here or not stuck here, like getting the message across, because what they're here for is to get a message across.
And that's, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to
all right.
pretty much say the same
The
thing.
middle
like,
of my sentence
I
interrupted
know,
the beginning of yours.
I just have a tendency.
Well, I'm going to
But-
interrupt both of you. And I'm going to say that is why I love doing these. It's one of the main reasons I get jazzed up about doing these is because you see somebody have that aha moment that they wouldn't have had before.
Right.
To watch you do what you do and to realize, okay, there is something to this. Or to have their first paranormal experience and to have them have that, holy moly moment that I had for myself, and now to see
Right.
them go through it. I mean, we had at Houghton Mansion, we had a hardened skeptic who wasn't going to believe anything that happened. By the end of the night, his mind was changed. Might have only been changed a little, but we opened that door.
We have
for
to
him.
bring my husband to these events.
We'll have to bring him along. We
And
can,
this-
we
have
can
to
change
bring-
anybody's
This is
mind.
the thing. It's like one of the things that makes this work so well is that we live our passion. And I know Steph and I always say it on the show is that we're so passionate about doing readings. And Tim, you're so passionate, like passion. And I think of remember that soap opera Passions? You were probably too young with the little doll.
I remember it. That thing was creepy.
It was creepy.
We're
That
gonna get off the creepy note though.
was okay.
Because we have 1 minute left.
Oh,
so
wow. Well, 1
that went
minute.
by fast. We could keep you for the next 3 hours, but we won't do that.
Right.
We
You're
gotta
not
send
gonna
you
let me
home.
Go anyway.
I know.
Oh, I know.
We're gonna keep you around at the
That's
end.
all right. But thank you everyone for watching tonight. You can get in touch with me, sburk910 on Facebook, sburk910 Twitter, Tiff.
Spirit Medium Tiffany on Facebook, tiffanyrice.com, Spirit Medium
You can-
Tiff at Gmail.
You can find Tim at Tim Weisberg.
Yep.
You can find him on WBSM.com too as well,
Right.
both
That's
of his
where I
shows.
blog there. And SpookySouthCoast.com. And if you want to get any of those tickets, legendtrips.com.
Yes,
Sign up now.
legendtrips.com.
Do it.
We want to see you there. Let us know that you're watching Spirit Connections, you saw this episode, and you are signing up for Legend Trips, because that'll be awesome to finally meet some of our fans in person.
And our readings.
Yay!
Definitely do that.
So thank you so much for watching. We'll be back. Are we back next week?
Next week with Joanna Lyons, owner of Sugar Plum Bakery, talking about some healthy goodness.
Awesome. All right. See
Can
you
I come
then.
back if there's
Yes.
food?
Yes, you
All
can.
Again.
Bye, guys.
All right. Bye, guys. Have a good night.